Hello and welcome to the R is Silent podcast. I am your host, Evan with the Silent R, and today I've invited my guests to come on the show to provide you guys with the opportunity to learn a little bit more about them, their careers, their relationships, and their lifestyle that they have here in Toronto. Before we get started, I have a dream of becoming the #1 podcaster in Toronto. Do me a big favor and please hit the subscribe button. I'm trying to reach 100 subscribers, so please make sure you subscribe if you've made it this far in the video. All right, guys, so we're going to go ahead and start with the introductions. So start off with your name, your age, your background, what you do for a living, and your relationship status.
What's going on, guys? My name is Leroy. I am 32. My occupation, I am a software engineer by day, stripper by night. I also waiter for our strip club, and I just started recently doing my fitness entrepreneur as a fitness online coach. So whoever wants to, have a body transformation for the summer or make these gains, lose some, fat loss, get toned up, especially ladies out there, holla at me.
Hi, I'm Johnny. I work at a cannabis facility. I grow some weed legally. I'm 29 years old. My status is taken.
I'm going to be asking you guys to tell us a little bit more about yourselves, but before we do that, the topic of the conversation today is confidence. And I know these guys personally, seen them develop their confidence in so many ways. So I'd love to know a little bit more about your story, your journey on developing your confidence as young men. So we're going to start with you.
Sure.
I would love for you to share your story with us. Tell us a little bit about who Leroy is and your journey in building up the confidence that you have. Because I believe you said you're a male stripper. Yeah. So I'm curious to know a little bit more about how you got to that part.
People are more curious about male stripping career than my actual day job. So no one cares about my day job.
Awesome. All right. So yeah, go ahead and tell us your story.
My story in general? All right.
Yeah.
Well,
from start to finish.
When I got into my first uni, I wanted to be a teacher and, a visual arts teacher teaching visual arts and maybe math or something. I know it's stereotypical, and then teaching was not for me. But I did get my Bachelor of Fine Arts degree and then moved on. So teaching was not for me, basically. Moved on, took a year off, ended up deciding to study for computer science, graduated, got my degree, worked for tech full time. And along those years, straight from the beginning, I was, working out, losing weight for 60 pounds for the first 2 years. And then
how heavy were you prior?
I was like 215 if I remember exactly. 215.
And how tall are you?
I'm like 5'7",
5'7",
5'8". I lost 60 pounds for the first 2 years. 2010 was my peak. First year in university, I was at my peak of fatness. I didn't like it. I was almost borderline obese. There's different levels of obese. Type 1, type 2. I'm almost type 1. It's unacceptable. I lost weight, 60 pounds, and I got really comfortable. I lost weight. I got a little more confidence. I was still able to pull, some girls a little bit, and just an average guy. And to realize I was an average guy, and I decided to get I got my first heart broken. I'll be honest. And
what happened? Tell us what happened.
I was dating some girl. We were exclusive for sure. Mm-hmm. Nothing's really officialized. I don't know if we need to officialize nowadays, but I think we weren't quite compatible. And she has different goals. I have different goals. I was too young. Mm-hmm. She was more on traditional side. That's fine. And it just didn't work out. Short story. She found another next man, and I got my heart broken. All right. And my boy, he took me to the gym just to get over with her, and ever since then I signed up with a personal trainer who is also my boy, my brother, to this day. And here I am. I signed up with different coaches, online coaches, because I always need accountability, and I leveled up and I built some gains, built muscles. I looked good. My confidence went through the roof.
Would you say that your biggest motivator for wanting to work out and improve your life is because of that heartbreak you had with that girl? If that never happened, do you think you would have still had that transformation?
Heartbreaking kind of ruined my confidence. If that didn't happen, I don't think I honestly don't even know. I don't think I probably would go to the gym at all. But since my boy brought me to the gym, that changed me. I'm sure it's not just me, because I hear a lot of stories.
Men go through that. Yeah,
a lot of men go through that, and I think for my boy who brought me into it, brought me into the gym lifestyle, and here I am because it brought me to places. I'm a software engineer by day now. I got my computer science degree. you know, and here I am. I ended up meeting my mentor or the owner, my boss, who owns a strip club. He asked me to become a waiter. I became a waiter. At first, he wanted me.
So hold on. I got to know a little bit more about this. You're going a little too fast. So I want to know a little bit more about the process. So you said that you were working out, and then your mentor was the one who opened up a male strip club, and he asked you if you were interested in becoming a stripper.
Yeah.
So what was going through your mind when you were asked this question? Were you feeling worried about what that process would be like?
Did you ever have that thought before too? It's like
Never in a million years. Never. Ever. In a million years, I thought I'd be a stripper today.
Really? Because like sometimes I'm like, I could be a male stripper. But not, obviously never.
No,
but like,
many people say that. But
that's what I'm saying, right? You never had that
they don't
thought
perform as they would think.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, I'm going to be the best. I'm going to kill it. Like, and I see it and like, yo.
Okay, so go back to the story.
Here's the story.
So you said your manager opened a strip club. What happened?
So to this day, he is my mentor. He's my boy. He asked me if I want to be a stripper. I reluctantly said, I'll think about it. Like, I'll think about it because I was shy. I thought I had the confidence until I didn't really have that much of a confidence. I was shy. I was shy. I kept dodging it. And then months after months, you know, he asked me again, hey, just let me know when you're ready. Are you still thinking about it? I'm like, yeah, I'll think about it. And then, you know, a few months later, end of 2018 summer, he asked me if I could help him out with the bar. Because at that time, recently, I found out that they were desperately looking for a waiter. And I'm like, you know what? I had plans already, so I canceled that plans. I went, you know, I want to know what's it about. Right?
So what was your first day like?
That night I came in and I'm like, yo, there was like hundreds of women. It's just me waiting. And by the end of the day, I managed, you know, throughout the night, picking up glasses, selling, making my sales or somewhat. You know, as a start, I did pretty decent. You know, I did as I was asked to do, and I was able to perform the best I could for the first time. And ever since then, that night, he asked me if I want to join be part of the team for long term. And I'm like, you know what? No hesitation. I said, yeah, because this is perfect for me.
So let's talk money wise. So how much does a male stripper even make?
Well, before I get to male stripping, this is waitering first.
Waitering. So you're just working as a waiter. You weren't
I'm not there yet.
To be,
I'm not there yet.
Okay.
This is more than just...
So how much were you making as a waiter?
So as a waiter, I would probably pull like $300, $400 a night cash.
Okay.
You know, I've been saving up, you know, and I couldn't complain. This is perfect for me, and I'm the only waiter, and, you know, versus like 5, 6, 7 dancers. It works for me, you know. And he told me, hey, maybe if, you know, this would be a good exposure for you to transition to a dancer. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, nah, waiting is good for me. I don't need to dance, showing, you know, being naked and all that. Nah, I'm good. A year later, I did a showcase at the end of the night after alcohol service. Because after I'm done my sales, by 2 o'clock, I'm doing a 3-minute showcase of my breakdance. Over time, later on, I kept doing that. I got some tips, you know. I got some, you know, whatever. Women, you know, wanted to come up on stage, and I told them no. Or the DJ told them no, I can't. They can't. You can't be up on stage because, you know,
it's dangerous.
It's not dangerous because I need a license.
Comfortability. Oh, you need a license.
It's either I'm a waiter or a dancer for our club.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, after COVID, when things opened up, and end of 2021 end of 2021 when things started opening up, it was refreshing to be back. Women went up on stage again. She knows that I'm not supposed to, like, I can't dance for her, but she asked, like, surprisingly, she asked the owner if I could dance for her on stage during my showcase, because during my showcase, mind you, I can't show any sexual appetite, have my clothes on, can't be like naked, whatever, because that would be considered a, you know, performer. And she went up on stage and she told me, hey, like, I told you can't be on stage. And she's like, yo, I asked the owner and he gave me the okay. I'm like, really? I looked at my mentor or the owner, with my boss, whatever. I looked at him. He's like, let me have that night. He's whatever, right? And I did, and I ended up dancing. One of the head dancers, he's also a part owner of the club. He took me in because at the time I didn't know they were desperately looking for dancers. To this day, I'm still waitering. I'll be waiting at a club, and I became a dancer on the road shows. So
what are those road shows like? Because I think you go up north?
Everywhere on Ontario, like apparently 30 different cities in Ontario.
Okay, so you tour.
I tour when I can during trying juggling with my 9 to 5, but I make it happen.
Do they consider you like a dancer instead of the word stripper? Because I know for girls sometimes they'll say like I'm a dancer, I'm not a stripper. Like, do they say the same thing for the men, or is it a very specific?
I mean,
title?
when we tell ourselves, when we
Yeah,
tell
yeah. Like,
people,
would you consider yourself like a male dancer versus like a male?
well,
stripper?
to me, a dancer would be like a high level like hip hop choreography, breaking and all of
Okay.
that. It is a dancer, but if I'm gonna be honest, I'd rather just call myself a stripper. Ladies' night
Got it.
or a magic mic would be more appropriate.
Oh, so they call it a magic mic.
A magic mic performer.
All right, so I want to give Johnny an opportunity to tell us what he does for a living. So go ahead, Johnny.
We have to start back before even cannabis got legalized, and it was more black market, more illegal. So I got an opportunity to work at a grow up facility, and it was like super super grimy. Like back in the days, it was like it's not as clean as it is nowadays, right?
So what does it look like in a grow up facility?
It's like imagine a room that just has like these black and white sheets. They just set it up so that they like it's minimalistic cost, right? But you can still grow and everything. There's black and white kind of like tarping so that there's perfect lighting for the plants. Super grimy, like you would like water the plants and just the water would just go on the floor and you go get a vacuum and vacuum it up, and you would flood the floors like crazy flood, like up to your almost to your shins flood. Right? We grow it for the boss and then he would go sell it to the streets. We were probably pounding out so much weed that anything you smoked during these years, it was probably grown from us.
Okay, so was it a Canadian owned company or?
It was a Canadian. It's Toronto based for sure.
Okay,
It was in
okay.
It was in Scarborough. I won't say any names because they're pretty big guys out there. But
So what's your job title? Like a grower or?
back then I was a grower. The title of that would be like I was actually caring for the plants, doing everything up until the point of harvest, which is when we crop it, hang it up to dry, and then from there you trim it and then sells out to the streets, right?
Okay.
Nowadays, because I am now in a legal facility, it's completely different. I have a different title.
Yeah, I mentioned to give you a specific title now.
Yeah. So technically,
taxable.
I'm the mother and clone technician, which is and I'll send you pictures that you can put up later. I grow some big plants like trees. I have to make sure those are healthy so I can get clones to clone them and to proceed with the next step, which is flowering them out and growing it out. We do almost the same steps where we crop the plant at the end of the day or at end of the cycle, dry it, and then we sell it to Ontario, right? OCS. And that's how it gets to the dispensaries, and that's how people purchase the weed from there.
Yeah, how did you get into that? How does one get into that field of work?
Not to make it like any racism or anything, they find Vietnamese ladies who are very good with like their hands. Like trimming is a big thing where you trim the weed because you don't want leafy bud, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those ladies are so good at it because I would assume that they were really good at sewing back then, so they're always good with their hands. So they found these group of ladies who were really good with scissors. And then one day they were like, oh, we need a few more guys to grow for us, right? So they asked the ladies, do you guys know anyone, right? And then the ladies were like, hey, do you want to come work at a weed place with us? And I was like, no, are you crazy? That's like, you'll get arrested for that shit, right? And it's bad. Like, it's crazy. And I don't know about you, Leroy, but like back in my day, like I knew so many uncles and aunties who had grow-ups in their houses, like growing in their basement, and they got caught and arrested and shit. And it's so common. Like with our Viet culture, it's so common because I don't know why it's like, they tend to lean to that side, right?
I don't know why, man.
Right. So I was like, yeah, it's good money, but I was like, nah, like I don't want to deal with that. I got my own I got school and stuff like
exactly.
that. But then and also they were like, oh yeah, we don't really get paid that frequently. It's like maybe every month, 2 months.
So how much does somebody make in that type of environment? Like
So-
yearly salary?
Back in the day, so it wasn't really salary, it was all cash based, right? So we were making like $20 an hour, $25 an hour, and doing that for like 5-6 days a week. Compared to now,
So
it's
that's like
whatever.
about 55, 60 grand a year.
Yes, but on cash, right? Nothing's taxed, right?
Oh,
So
okay.
It's
So
pretty good.
okay, so minus the taxes, probably like 45.
No, like, but there's no taxes because it's all
Oh.
illegal, right?
Oh, okay,
So I was.
okay. This is back in the day, not
This is
now.
this is not nowadays.
Okay.
It's kind of tanked down a little bit, but
Gotcha.
I was making about $30 because I took the role of grower, so I was making $30 an hour cash, which was really decent back in the day, especially dropping out of university and trying to find a job, right, and a quick cash job, and I got really good at it. I kind of realized I had a green thumb.
Okay.
So I made all these connections with all these big guys, right? And after certain events at that facility, everyone kind of like did their own thing, right? And I was kind of known in the scene as like a good grower, right? So I got picked up here, finished that spot, went to the next spot. I met some people, like the boss I know today. He knew me from that place specifically, and he was like, you know what? I'm starting an actual legit LP, licensed producer. I need real guys. I need guys who's been through these trenches before, and I need them to do do a good job and shit, right? And speaking on the company itself, Strains Limited, we're really hot right now. We're like probably like top 6 in Canada. Right.
Wow.
And we just released earlier this year too, right? Like all the reviews you see on like Reddit and stuff like that, it's like these guys know what they're doing. These guys are connoisseurs themselves. I myself don't smoke, but everyone there smokes, and they've been smoking for years, like
So they test the product.
they test. We have R&D license, which is research and development, and we do everything accordingly. Yeah.
How long have you been in that industry?
9-10 years now.
So what advice would you give to people who are looking to get into that industry?
Don't get into the industry.
Why?
It's right now the market for it is like it's not as good as it used to be. Like black market wise, it's not as good as it used to be. Everyone who grew weed back then and still thinks that they can make the same amount of money, it's not as much as money as it used to be. If you go legal, you have to pay all these licensing, you have to have a facility, right? You have to have all these proper equipment. With our place, it's so sanitized. It's probably, you can compare it to a hospital. It's just as sanitized as a hospital. We're cleaning it every week when we test our weed, just to make sure the product for the customers is right. We have microbial tests, which is like we test the rooms, we test the air quality, and everything is always straight. Like every time we harvest a crop, we send it for microbials to see if it passed or not, yeast and mold, and we make sure that the product isn't bad for you, for the customers, right?
When you say back in the days, did you mean like during COVID?
No, even further back then.
Even further?
Further.
Oh,
Probably. You talking about weed in general, or me working in the industry?
Well, I guess both.
Because
like,
weed itself started way earlier than us, right? It started from like cess, hydro, right? So because prior, even before probably our time, it was like cess. I don't know if you guys remember cess. It was like it's come from Jamaica. It had seeds and stuff, sticks and stuff like that, right? Hydro became a thing, and hydro is like before with cess, it was like brown and black and like squishy and stuff like that. They pressed the shit out of it, right? And then hydro came out where like they're feeding it properly through like a watering system and stuff like that, and the bud came out bright green, and people are looking at that and they're like, the hell is that? Like, that's not weed, right? And to nowadays we think about it, we're like, no, that's what we want, right? We don't want this black brown stuff that's like and that was the transition where it was like from cess to hydro. That was the game changer. And then from ever since then, it's been building more and more and more towards like what we have nowadays, where it's like to exact T. The mediums we use, like when I say mediums, it's the soil. We don't actually use soil, we use cocoa, which is like coconut husk, right? It's all down to the side, like to a T. We know when exactly the plant needs to eat like certain sugars, certain calcium, magnesiums and stuff like that. When you ask me if someone still wants to get into the business, it's like, if you don't have the experience from the last 10 years, you're not going to catch up to the game right now.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot more people that are far ahead, and they've set up.
And you see
and it's super saturated
it's
right
super
now.
saturated, and everywhere's opening now. In the States, there's a few states that legalize it, like New York, Cali and stuff like that. We have business opportunities in Germany and Jerusalem. They've come to visit our facility. We've given them a tour.
It's easy.
But the licensing fee for that is just it's crazy. It's not really worth it, but there's still some workarounds around it. It's still new.
50 G's or something?
For a license, yeah. Can you believe that?
For a year.
For a year. So imagine how much you have to sell to them. It's not like we don't want to turn down the opportunity. It's just like there's so much we can do, because plants itself, it takes like 3-4 months to grow. From the beginning to the end, right? To dry, to cut, to harvest, it takes so long, and there's only a limited amount of quality product, right? So we sell to OCS, and then we still have our leftovers, like the smaller, because obviously you look at a plant, you get your smaller nugs and everything. Mm-hmm. We mill it and we make pre-rolls, right? We sell out those. Anything we have left over, we either extract. We have our extracting license. We haven't released any products yet. But then
it's quite a process.
Even if we were to sell to like Germany or Jerusalem, it's like, what can we give them? Because we're so limited in our quality. We already have buyers, and this is just faster. We don't have to pay for a license, blah, blah, blah. Currently, we're looking for more facilities to either rent out. There's smaller licensings called micros, and they have the facility built, but they don't have the license to sell or to market it and stuff like that. So what, as an LP, we can do is we can buy their weed and sell it off and put their name under it, something like that. We haven't done that yet, but that's one of the things LPs do, like ghost drops. Have you heard of ghost drops?
Ghost drops. No, I haven't heard of that.
If you go to any dispensaries, one of the biggest names is Ghost Drops and Cookies. So Ghost Drops never grows any of their weed. They contract growers to grow for them, and they choose which company grew best for them, and they take their lot and then they sell it to OCS and the dispensary. So they never actually grow their own weed. That's their way of doing it. Ours, we grow our own weed, and we're looking to buying other places and renting it out and stuff like that.
All right, so we're going to take it back to Leroy real quick here. So, Leroy, I'm going to ask you and Johnny the same question. So, tell us the craziest thing that's happened to you at work.
So, as a Magic Mike
dancer,
dancer,
yeah.
I've met a woman at a city in Sarnia, in Ontario. I performed there, and she was very interested in me, and I made her feel a certain way when I took her for lap dances, I guess. And she really wanted my number. I gave her my number, and we texted back and forth. She keeps calling me, out of my good-hearted, I'm a very kind guy. Out of my good-heartedness, I would pick up her calls from time to time if I can. And there were some times I don't want to. Picked up, called her, whatever, messaged her, get back to her. It's been a couple months, all right? And she always asked me, there were times at a show where we have a show in Burlington and I wasn't selected. She was there and she was upset that I wasn't there. So that's how crazy she is. Okay, and
what was her nationality, if you don't mind me asking?
If she's from Sarnia or like any cities in Ontario, she's white.
Canadian.
She's white. She's white.
Fair enough.
She white, like you already know, like country girl, Mm-hmm. Anyway, so one day she called me like at a time, like at the end of the night, me and my boy were just talking, and she called me. It was like a perfect time. She called me, and I'm like, yo, she's calling me, yo. She's FaceTiming me. He's like, yo, man, pick it up. Picked it up. I'm like, hey, and stuff like that. And then he interjected and, saying like, hey, like, what you guys up to? Blah, blah, blah. At a hotel, whatever. And we like, okay, tell me where and when. And, if you really want us, because apparently she wanted me to see her. Like, she wanted me to see her like after my work. My boy, he's a stripper. He's a stripper, like a real stripper, like written all over him. Tattoos, light skin, like piercings. He's like, okay, if you want to see us, come to you, pay for our gas, pay for our services. And yeah, we did an after party with them and private party, what do you want to call it? You know what's going on out there, yo. Ever since then, like apparently it was just not only her, it's her and her friend. It's just the two of us. So it worked out for him. He had her friend, I had her. They paid us some money. Apparently her friend and her aren't friends anymore, and her friend snitched on, because she snitched on her about what went down.
To who? Snitched on her to who?
To her husband.
Oh my god.
Holy fuck.
Yeah, to her husband. And then later, he gave me, like, he messaged me, DM me, gave me threat messages and saying like, yo, you messing with the wrong dude. Listen up, boss. This is messing up with the wrong dude. I don't know who you are, but you're fucking with the wrong dude, with who has a wife, especially. I'm gonna come down to every one of your shows and ruin your reputation. That's the crazy story right there, and it only gets better. And then I ignored him because I freaked out. I'm like, oh shit, because I'm still new. I'm still new, fresh in the block. I'm still a rookie, as a male Magic Mike entertainer. And I asked one of the head dancers who was experienced for like 20 years. I'm like, yo, what should I do? Like read this message. He's like, oh, don't worry about it. Like, I get these messages all the time.
Well, that's your first time going through that experience.
Yeah,
as a
like,
Magic
I
Mike
freaked
dancer?
out, man. Like, what if this guy must be a hillbilly, comes out with the rifle in a pickup truck and shoots me. You never know, like, man's, get emotional at the time. They don't think right sometimes, right?
Yeah.
At the time, And he told me, like, don't worry about it. I get these messages all the time. I even send my location, right? He sends the location and they don't even reach, like, I'm always cautious. You never know. A couple weeks later, he reached out again. Hey, I'm gonna, like, if you're not, like, you're ignoring me, this is not gonna get worse. It's gonna get worse. I'm gonna reach out, talk to your family, how for man's wife, whatever.
Journeys of a Magic Mike dancer.
Yo, man.
All right, so Johnny, we're gonna go to you next.
Jeez.
Hopefully you have a more tame story, but if you have a lit one, go ahead with it. Go ahead and tell us the craziest thing that's happened to you at work.
Okay, this is back in still the illegal days. So we were growing. We had technically a license to grow and to sell to patients who had their license. But this is before it got legalized. One night, right after legalization, we technically didn't have the license to grow, and we got worried because with those licenses, you have a certain amount of plants you can have, and we were way overboard, like probably 3 times overboard. So we got worried. We all looked at ourselves and we're like, "Oh shit, we gotta kill a lot of our crops." So we spent the whole night just killing almost all.
What
the
do you
plants.
mean when you say killing the crops? Like you were just cutting them and throwing them away?
Yeah, because we didn't make. We had
Also, they didn't finish their growth process,
Yes,
and you killed it.
We had to, right?
Oh, wow.
Anything that was more along in the cycle, we kind of left. But all the smaller plant, like the baby plants or the clones, we had to kill all of them. If you think about like money wise, we probably threw like $300,000 down the drain because we already took care of them for so long. So you think about all the overhead we put into it, and then just culling them and throwing them out. Right.
We're going to go ahead with the question box now. I have a few questions in this box for the guys to answer. So I'll pick out the questions, actually. I'll read out the questions, and then we'll go Leroy, Johnny, and I'll also contribute to the questions as well. What did your father teach you about being a successful man? I'll start first. So my father, he taught me the value of hard work. I think my father was a great example because he would go to work every single day without any rest. I think he took one vacation a year, but he would go to work from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. every single day. So when I saw that he was the type of person who would work that hard, I knew when I grew up and I became a man, I would have to work hard. So I was always expecting and thinking about my future, like, oh, I'm going to be the kind of man who goes to work all day and comes home at night and works hard and provides for his family. So I got to learn a valuable lesson from my father on just how he lived his life without him even telling me, and knowing that, it takes hard work to be successful. And he was a great example for that.
Obviously, you've seen how he led by an example.
Mm-hmm.
Did he ever tell you what it takes, or did he ever tell you what you need to be successful in any way, directly to telling you?
Yeah. And one of the major things that he pushed for me was to focus on education. He didn't want me to work as hard as he did. He had to work with his hands. So he wanted to give us the opportunity to be able to work with our minds, because he never had the opportunity to do that. When he came to Canada, he just completed grade 9. So he didn't have the chance to go to school and do something better with his life. So he had to work hard and get his hands dirty in order to make a living. All right, what about you? What did your father teach you about being a successful man?
Number one thing is getting an education. He is a very traditional man. Obviously, my parents are from Vietnam, and they came here in the late 80s from the Vietnam War. This guy knows. He's a bit too. Obviously, as first generations, they would want us to be like some sort of doctor or something, like, high level educated, having a good job, nothing like blue collar or like I don't think he said it directly, but indirectly he would want me to have that. He did pass away, during COVID. Rest in peace for my father. Funny enough, ironically, my mother is the breadwinner.
She has always been the breadwinner.
She's always, my dad had lung issues and had health problems, lung issues, so he had to stop doing work. And my mom owns a restaurant, right? And she was the breadwinner, and my dad was taking care of the errands, but at the same time, from a father figure, he would want me to have a family.
All right, Johnny, you ready?
Yeah, my father was kind of like yours, Evan, where and Leroy's, where they came from like a third world country. And speaking on the traditional part, my father didn't really talk to me too much about how I should live my life. He just said the same thing: better education, you won't have to work as hard. But it was really minimal. Through his actions, it was more. His actions spoke louder than what it was, right? And it's like, yeah, this guy's providing for the whole family, and just try your best. Don't ever let him down, right? There is a part of my life where I kind of I started living on my own, right? So doing that, I learned through not what he said, but through the experiences, and I put back myself into his shoes and thought about how he started a family, coming over here and stuff like that. So I carry that with me almost every day.
Did your father teach you anything about being a man? I find that a lot of guys nowadays actually go through the experience of not having ever being taught by their father how to be a man. So you kind of have to figure it out on your own.
I think that's what it was.
Yeah. Okay. Was it the same for you, Leroy?
It was quite similar in a way. It's funny. He always told me to just be responsible, be smart, especially dealing with meeting women. And it's funny because he said, don't get a girl pregnant, as any parents wouldn't want that for your kids, right?
Yeah.
Told me, play safe. He would ask, obviously, I think he would want me to have those experiences because he always asked me, like, which girl you hit.
Oh, yeah?
It's like, which girl you hit? Which kind? She good?
Good.
I love that about my father. We had a
Yeah.
good relationship, Thank God I had a good relationship with him before he passed away. And
But
from
he
that
didn't
sense,
teach you anything specific about like manhood and being masculine and things like that.
I guess
Did you have to learn that on your own?
I had to learn that on my own. I don't think he would. I don't think he told me what it takes to be masculine. But I think he would want me to have a fulfilling life.
Perfect. All right, we're gonna go with the next question. Let's keep these questions going.
Keep it rolling.
All right, so if you had a friend who wasn't confident and struggled with dating, what advice would you give them? I'll go first. First advice I would give them, being confident is not something that just happens overnight. You do have to practice being confident. You do have to spend each day working towards being a more confident man, doing things that help you get out of your comfort zone. Because the best way to build confidence is being able to work outside of your comfort zone and then becoming a new person by growing. Once you're able to grow and grow your confidence, it'll make it a lot easier when dealing with women. Because a lot of guys are really shy with women. It's hard to be confident, especially if you never learned prior how to be confident with women. So the advice that I would give the guy is to work on himself. Focus on building up his fitness. Focus on getting his money up. Focus on building a skill, Focus on his game, being able to have game, being able to talk, being able to be persuasive, charming. These are things that girls are going to really love. And most importantly, being able to be masculine, have masculine energy. And what does that really mean? That means like being stoic, being determined, being ambitious, being fit, being strong, being a protector, a provider. These are all traits that a lot of women are going to find valuable. So if he's able to be confident in those ways and work on those aspects of his life, I'm sure that he'll be a lot more of a confident person. So, yeah. What do you think, Leroy? What advice would you give your friend if you knew that he wasn't confident and struggled with dating?
To the guys out there who are not as confident but want to be confident with women, work out. Fitness, it's non-negotiable. Not working out, unacceptable. Work out, that's the first thing. Build yourself. And then slowly, once you get a little confidence, at the same time, work on your craft, work on your passion, your career, whatever needs to be done. And also, surround yourself who are better than you, stronger than you, better than you. Not stronger, but better than you in the sense of a career-wise. Get your money up. Women are already privileged. They're already born with value. Everything's given to them. They're trust fund babies. Okay? And men, ourselves, we gotta jump through the hoops.
Yep.
Figure ourselves, bloody sweat and tears, working hard, build the money up, and we have to learn the female nature. Okay? That is why. So, guys, work out, surround yourself with, older heads, successful people, better than you. That's pretty much it.
All right.
Focus
ahead,
on
Johnny.
that.
Well, my thing with confidence is like I agree with all of you guys. I went through that whole experience you just said within the last year, like all of that. But my thing with confidence is I feel like you have to learn how to lie.
So like fake it till you make it, you're talking about?
Pretty much.
I feel it's more like selling a dream or like faking it till you make it.
Yeah.
Because you can build your confidence by faking it till you make it. Like, let's say if I'm presenting in front of a group of 100 people and I have no experience presenting in front of a group of 100 people, I'm going to be nervous. Yes. I'm not going to know what to say. I'm not going to know what to do. I'm not going to know how to handle it. But if I pretend like, no, I'm the greatest speaker of all time, I'm lying, but if I feel that way and I'm on stage,
and it's about putting
your
mental state in that position. Even with this podcast, it's like this is the first podcast I've ever done, and I'm super, super nervous. Like after all the takes we took today, I was so nervous. But it's all that mentality. It's like looking at you, you're so confident with this podcast. Looking at Leroy telling his stories, it's like I got to be in this mental state, and it's exactly what you're saying too. Surround yourself with confident people, and you're gonna be confident yourself.
Yeah, they're gonna show you the way.
Yeah.
So it's not like if I were to tell my friend to be confident, it's more like, watch this. This is how I can't tell you how to do it because you have to experience it yourself. This is how I do it, and follow me, and you're gonna see the confidence, and you'll eventually get there.
Yeah.
Well said.
Well said.
So we're gonna go ahead with the next question. So the question is, do you watch the Fresh and Fit podcast, and what are your thoughts on it? I'll start first. Actually, a huge fan of the Fresh and Fit podcast. They've been one of my biggest inspirations to want to start a podcast because although I understand a lot of people may not agree with the messaging that comes from the host of the podcast, specifically Myron, I will say that I think they do provide a lot of value to a lot of men who, as I was saying before when I was asking you, did your father ever teach you about being a man, about being a masculine man? And you said no. And very similarly, a lot of men have that experience. So where do you learn it from? And for me, I've always been the kind of person who would draw resources from other places, other people, to learn how to develop myself as a man. But on the Fresh and Fit podcast, you could turn that on and you'll have that guy in your head screaming in your ear saying, you can do better. You can be more than what you are. So stop being a bum, sitting on your butt, playing video games, and go to the gym. You know, if you have somebody in your mind or in your ear reminding you every time to be a better man, I think it's valuable. Mm-hmm. And that's what I really enjoy about the Fresh and Fit podcast. I don't think Fresh brings as much value though, but Myron really is the one that, you know, I look forward to hopefully one day meeting those guys and being able to have a conversation with them.
Totally.
What about you, Leo? What do you think? 'Cause I know you, I think you watched the show as well.
It is literally the voice for men out there who are lacking confidence in general. And they're literally impacted my life.
What way?
I started watching, like, to be honest, I started watching them, like, probably in November.
Oh, so this year?
Yeah. I mean, I've seen them here and there, like, a little bit. And nothing really. It just showed up in my Explore. Like, in that year, 2022 last year? Mm-hmm. But then, like, I started just watching them, and, like, I just got drawn to it. And it's like, this is perfect for all men out there, especially me. And it did change. Even, like, me as a stripper already, it gave me that extra confidence. Nice. And it changed me. I don't deal with BS when I'm working in the industry with full women, and even when, especially with women, they think they're entitled. I don't deal with BS with that. You know, it all comes down with the respect. If they ever want to see me, and if they want to for dances, they pay for the money, for the services, and for the lap dances. So they did mention about fitness, working out. I got that. You know, check that box. Check that box. All right, get your money up. I've been doing that, picking up 2 jobs. Checkbox, was it?
Yep.
Checked.
Game? You got game?
No. Sorry.
You got game?
Game's been improving tremendously.
Okay.
Checked, and it's only getting better. Okay. I started late as in game, like, because I didn't really go out as often before I started working in that industry, waitering, whatever. I was just focused on myself in school, working out, hanging with my nerd friends. Nothing wrong with nerd friends, but those friends are, you know, good to have. And funny fact, earlier today when I woke up eating my first meal, I been listening to the podcast right here.
I'm telling you, all men think of the way that we do. It's just that the rich.
See that?
Yeah.
I've been watching it today. I watch it daily, even when I drive.
Me too. I watch it when I drive.
When I
work
I
out
put it
in
on
the
YouTube.
gym.
That's why I have YouTube Premium.
Mm-hmm.
I have YouTube Premium for that, so I don't have to watch the video, but I can just listen to them.
Yeah.
And don't have
While you're on the go.
I'm already on the go.
All right, Johnny, go ahead.
I don't watch the podcast, but after hearing you guys talk about it so passionately, after all those check marks, and I'm doing a few of those check marks, I'm like, oh man, I gotta check this.
Yeah, I encourage you to check it out. Like, and some of it may offend you, but it's sometimes you have to have those friends that will offend you
for sure,
because they're gonna tell you the truth.
Yeah.
They're not gonna lie to you and give you the BS to make you think that, you know, you can live your life the way that you're living it now and not improve yourself, and that's gonna be okay, and it's gonna be beneficial for your future. And before we go on to the next question, I gotta ask you guys, because they said this on the Fresh and Fit podcast, so I would love to know your perspective. So did you know that Asians were the least swiped race on social media?
Yes.
So all the dating apps,
Yes.
Asians are the least swiped race. How do you feel about that?
I'm not surprised. I'm not worried about them. I worry about myself, to stand out. You know, whatever. All these Asian guys, I want them to be confident, but they put us down a little bit in terms of confidence. Because most Asian men are culturally confined. They're shy. Would you say timid? Right? They're the ones that I guess, like, ruined for us out there who are confident. I'm the one out there that should be representing for all the Asian guys out there to bring them out of the shell. Okay. To answer your question, I'm not surprised. I'm just gonna worry about myself. Regardless of my color, I know I'm Asian. I'm gonna represent, so that's why I'm in this industry. You
are representing in the industry, man.
I'm representing the industry
you.
organically, and I'm an engineer too. So I'm doing everything I can to represent the Asian community.
Yes, sir.
But
Yeah.
what about you, Johnny? What do you think?
Honestly, it doesn't really affect me too much because I kind of use it as to kind of up me whenever I do match with a girl that's not of my race or Asian culture. I usually ask them like, have you ever been with an Asian guy? And 10 times out of 10, it's no, I haven't. I'm like, you guys are missing out because you guys have this stereotype that we're like dorky or blah blah blah. But yo, Asian guys are like one of the coolest guys out there. Like we got everything, bro. Like look at this. We got like look how diverse we are between the two of us, me and Leroy right now.
Yeah.
Right? And I know Leroy's a pretty cool guy. I'm a pretty cool guy, and like yeah, there's just a stereotype with like media that had happened, I don't know, back in the 90s, 2000s, where Asian guys are just portrayed as dorky, nerdy guys. And there are still a lot of them out there, and it's because of like Leroy said, it's like the culture and stuff like that. But a lot of the times, like all my boys, they're cool. They're not like nerds and not to say nerds, but they're not like that,
Yeah.
And I could care less about that. The statistic, to be honest.
Fair enough. Fair.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go ahead with the next question. Let's keep it going. How did you work on your confidence growing up? How I've worked on my confidence is just putting myself out there, taking the opportunity to be in front of groups of people, to speak, to share my ideas, to share my values, and being able to stand tall and firm in who I am as a person in every environment that I go into. I never stray away from being myself. And I know that I could do anything I set my mind to, so I'm always confident. And I know it's a little bit unfair for me, I guess, at times because I'm a tall guy, so I never have to worry about my height. I can speak very well, so I never have to worry about what I say. And I would say I'm a pretty handsome guy, so I never have to worry about what I look like. So I just think that for me, being confident has always been an easier thing, I think, than most. I'm still working on it every day. Even back in the day, I did a funny exercise to build my confidence with women. And what I did was I went to Yorkdale one day. Me and my friend, we went to Yorkdale, and we practiced chopping girls.
Yeah.
So we would just go up to random girls and would try to see how many numbers we can get, just to break that feeling of rejection, because we were so scared of rejection. Rejection was even super paralyzing for me at one point. And ever since that day, at the end of that day, I have never been more confident than ever because I got rejected like 5 times that day. But I got a few numbers. And then when you get that one number, you feel like the man, you know that it's actually possible. Yeah. But I would have never been able to do it if I didn't get that practice. I didn't get that confidence in knowing that I can walk up to a woman and ask her name and get her phone number. So it took a lot of practice.
For sure.
Yeah, but I made it.
Hey.
What about you?
I wouldn't be here without, I wouldn't be here. You wouldn't have invited me to get into this podcast, right? Without this much confidence. For me personally, I know wholeheartedly, I want to be the best version of myself. And when I was younger, I was overweight. Obviously, I had to work out, getting the best in shape ever. Hired different coaches to get to where I am today. And, over the years, organically, I meet people, I network, and I end up being, a waiter and a dancer, stripper, Magic Mike performer. It brought me to places. It got me to places. It got me to being a real estate investor. It got me to networking people. It got me to hold a conversation with anyone, even with women, even a good-looking woman. Like it doesn't.
Doesn't affect you anymore like it did before when you were not your best version of yourself.
Exactly. And working as a waiter, I am, I have no choice. I have to, when I'm working as a waiter, I have to serve people. I have to talk to people. And it just goes hand in hand, dealing with women, talking to women, serving the woman, and I don't know how to conversate.
Confidence to me didn't start till maybe even a year or 2 ago. And that being said, I was probably more of one of those nerdier guys before. And I just wanted to, start that family life before anything. And I dated a girl for like about 5 years, promise of having a family and everything. And then we broke up. And that hurt. That stung a little bit, because you kind of had your life set out. And my confidence was down to 0, right? I was fat. I was 230. Damn. And I'm 180 now, so I lost about 50 pounds. I lost the weight. And I told myself, you can't be like this. This is pitiful. Like, imagine I saw myself outside of my shell and I looked at myself, right? And I was like, who wants to be this guy, right? Who the fuck wants to be this guy, right? Forget that. So I kind of looked at myself outside the shell, and I was like, you can't be, you had plans to be a greater person. This is not you, right? So I started working out, lost some weight. I started getting more confident. And as Leroy was saying earlier, it just shows already. Like, you do a little working out, you feel better, right? You look better, and just girls start talking to you more. You're more confident. It kind of all starts flowing together. Like, you hit one milestone, it keeps going. So as he was saying, it's like, you have to work out. Like, he was saying this, and it's like he was talking to me right away. He's like, you have to work out. You have to get your money up. This is just how life is. If you want a better life, this is the steps you have to go. If you want to stay there, I don't care, right? But if you want to progress in your life and be a better person, it's true. You have to work on yourself, right? Physically, mentally, and now you have to get the money up there, right? And that's how I feel confidence is. It's like, as this year has passed by, I've been able to get more and more confident. I've been confident with my body, right? I've been able to do way more many things than I've done before. And even work-wise, like, I was such a pushover before. And nowadays, it's like, there's something that doesn't go my way, I make a point about it. I'd be like, hey, I didn't really appreciate that. I think we should do it like this. I take it in a mildly manner, but it's still more confidence than I used to have. Even if it's a small step, right? And people appreciate. They go, I didn't think of it like that. Let's do it your way and see how it goes, right? And that's what my idea of, like, confidence is.
All right, we're going to go ahead with the next question. Let's keep the questions going. So what would you teach your son about building his confidence? What would you teach your son about building his confidence? I'll start first. The first thing I would teach my son about building his confidence, don't be afraid to put himself out there and get out of his comfort zone. I think that when children are young, they gravitate to everything that their parents want and need. But as they get older, they find out that life is an individual journey. And for my son, he's going to need to know at an early age that as he gets older, no one's coming to save him. He's going to have to find it on his own. And as his father, I'll do my best to be able to provide him with the best start possible. But I would want him to be able to grind. I would want him to go through trials and tribulations, to figure out life on his own. But also I'd want to provide him with all the tools that he needs so that when he becomes a man, he knows how to survive as a man. And how's he going to do that? He's going to make sure he's got a good job. He's going to make sure he's got a good education. He's going to make sure that he is strong, that he's got good friends around him, mentors around him who can help teach and guide him along. So as long as he has those things and my undying support, if he ever needed anything, unlike my father, I never felt like I could go to him and ask him about anything, even about girls. I would want my son to be able to come and ask me any question about women, about life, and to be able to support him. What about you, Leroy? What do you think? What would you teach your son about being confident?
Well, tell him, be yourself. Who cares what people think? Ask questions. Be curious. Be curious. Okay? Surround yourself with good friends. If you're, as a child, ask questions. Because that's what I did, and that's how I got in life.
I confidently believe all of that too. That's how I feel about things. But one thing I would teach my son is keep a good humor. Not every situation has to be so serious. There are times where it requires you to be serious, but being lighthearted and being able to joke around with friends and stuff is a good thing to have in life, right?
Yeah. Guys, I want to thank you so much for being here on the podcast. I just wanted you to share your quick final words on the show. Any final advice, any final words. Keep it short, keep it sweet. Your last thoughts on the show. Go ahead. Johnny, we'll go with you first.
Say thank you, Evan, for having me on this podcast. I find it very insightful learning from all of you. And I'm glad that I met both of you. And, me and Evan, we go a long way. So it's nice to reconnect. And also, last words, whoever needs hiring a fitness online coach, holla at your boy. Looking to be sexy this summer, looking like fit, looking chiseled, holla at your boy.
Nice.
Let's go.
All right. Go for it, Johnny.
Evan, thanks for having us out. Before I leave, guys, if you buy weed from any dispensaries, please buy from my company. Give us good reviews, because then we will make more money and they'll give me more money. Thank you.
Keep it real.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you made it this far, please hit the subscribe button. I am your host, Evan with the silent R, and we are out.
Peace.